What if the very thing that makes you feel different, the way you notice what others miss, the way you sense the unspoken pain in someone's voice, the way you see through the masks people wear, what if this isn't a burden to carry, but a gift to honor? You've probably been told you're too sensitive, too aware, too much, that you read too deeply into things, that you overthink, that you feel things others don't even notice. You've learned to apologize for your depth, to dim your light so others feel comfortable, to question your own perceptions because they see a different reality than everyone else around you. But what if Carl Rogers was right when he said that the person who can truly see another human being, who can witness their authentic self beneath all the pretense, possesses one of the rarest and most sacred abilities on earth? What if your sensitivity isn't a flaw to fix, but a capacity to celebrate? What if your ability to see beneath the surface isn't a curse, but exactly what this world desperately needs? Today, I want to share with you something that might change how you see yourself forever. Something that could transform your entire relationship with your own depth, your own awareness, your own beautiful, complicated way of being human. Because there are only two types of people in this world: those who see what's really happening beneath the surface and those who refuse to look. Those who can witness the authentic human experience in all its messiness and beauty, and those who prefer the safety of illusions and comfortable pretense. The question is, which one are you? And more importantly, what does it mean if you're the one who sees? Carl Rogers, the revolutionary psychologist who transformed how we understand human connection, spent his entire life studying one profound mystery: why some people can truly see others while most remain blind to the depths of human experience. Rogers wasn't just a therapist. He was a pioneer who dared to suggest that healing doesn't come from analysis, interpretation, or expert advice. Instead, he discovered that transformation happens when one human being truly sees another. When someone feels genuinely witnessed, accepted, and valued for exactly who they are, not who they think they should be. He called this unconditional positive regard, combined with empathic understanding. But this isn't just therapeutic jargon. This is a rare psychological capacity that allows certain individuals to witness the true essence of another person without judgment, without the compulsive need to fix or change them, without the defensive urge to look away when things get uncomfortable. Rogers discovered that this gift of deep seeing isn't random. It's not something you're simply born with or without. It develops through a specific kind of life experience, a particular journey through pain and growth that strips away your own illusions and teaches you to see clearly. But here's what Rogers found that still unsettles many therapists and philosophers today. This gift of profound perception often comes with a price. Those who possess it frequently feel isolated, misunderstood, even rejected by a world that prefers surface-level interactions and comfortable illusions. Rogers wrote, "The curious paradox is that when I accept myself just as I am, then I can change." But what he didn't explicitly say was this: the people who can truly accept others as they are, who can see them with such clarity and compassion, often struggle the most to accept themselves. Because when you can see through everyone else's masks, when you can perceive the pain they're hiding, the fear they're carrying, the authentic self they've buried beneath layers of social conditioning, you become painfully aware of your own masks, your own hidden pain, your own buried authentic self. This creates a unique kind of loneliness. You're surrounded by people, but you're often the only one who sees what's really happening. You're in relationships, but you're frequently the only one willing to acknowledge the deeper truths that everyone else is avoiding. Let me paint you a picture of what this looks like in daily life. Because if you're someone who sees deeply, you'll recognize yourself in these moments. You're in a conversation, and while everyone else is responding to the words being spoken, you're hearing something entirely different. You're hearing the tremor of fear beneath someone's confident presentation. You notice the way their voice changes when they talk about their relationship, how their body language contradicts their words, how their laughter doesn't quite reach their eyes. While others see success and achievement, you notice the exhaustion, the emptiness, the desperate need for validation that drives their accomplishments. You see how they've learned to perform happiness rather than feel it, how they've mastered the art of looking fine while falling apart inside. You see the married couple at dinner, and while everyone comments on how happy they look, you notice something entirely different. You observe how they never actually look at each other, how their conversations stay safely on the surface, how they've become experts at sharing space while remaining strangers. You notice the tiny moments of disconnection, the missed opportunities for real intimacy, the way they've learned to be lonely together. In your workplace, colleagues celebrate the newly promoted manager, but you see something others miss. You notice how their new authority has become a shield rather than a tool, how their confidence is performed rather than felt, how they've learned to hide their uncertainty behind increasingly rigid control. You see the cost of their success, the relationships they've sacrificed, the parts of themselves they've had to abandon to fit into the role. You watch your friends navigate their relationships, and while they present happy facades on social media, you see the subtle signs of struggle. You notice how they change around their partners, how they edit themselves to maintain peace, how they've learned to disappear pieces of their authentic selves to keep their relationships stable. And here's where it gets complex, where your gift becomes both a blessing and a burden. This ability to see isn't passive observation. Rogers understood that true seeing is an act of profound courage and responsibility. Because when you truly witness another person's pain, their fear, their authentic struggle beneath their composed exterior, you can't unsee it. You become a keeper of their truth, whether they've consciously shared it with you or not. You start carrying not just your own emotional experience, but pieces of everyone else's hidden emotional reality. You become a repository for all the feelings that others refuse to acknowledge, all the truths that remain unspoken, all the pain that goes unwitnessed. But the world doesn't always welcome this level of truth. People prefer their comfortable illusions. They want to believe in the masks, the performances, the carefully constructed presentations of happiness and success. When you see through these illusions, when your presence makes it difficult for them to maintain their pretense, you become a mirror they don't want to look into. They might call you too intense or too deep. They might suggest you lighten up or don't take things so seriously. They might distance themselves from you, not because they don't value you, but because your ability to see makes them uncomfortable with their own hiding. This is the burden that Rogers understood but rarely spoke about directly. Those who can truly see others often feel like outsiders in a world that runs on denial, avoidance, and surface-level connection. Here's what Rogers discovered that changes everything, that transforms this entire experience from burden to gift. The ability to see others clearly isn't actually about them at all. It's about you. It's about the journey you've taken, the depth you've cultivated, the awareness you've developed through your own process of becoming authentic. Those who can truly witness another person's authentic self have developed what Rogers called congruence. This isn't just alignment between your inner experience and outer expression. It's something far more profound. It's the result of having traveled through your own darkness, having faced your own shadows, having stripped away your own masks and defenses and found something real underneath. You see others clearly because you've learned to see yourself clearly. You recognize their hidden pain because you've faced your own. You spot their masks because you've worn them too. You understand their fear because you've walked through your own terrifying territories of growth and change. But here's the profound paradox Rogers identified. The very sensitivity that allows you to see so deeply also makes you vulnerable to being wounded more easily. Your emotional permeability, the quality that makes you such a gifted perceiver of others' inner worlds, also means you feel others' pain as if it were your own. You absorb their anxiety, carry their sadness, become affected by their energy in ways that others simply don't experience. This creates a unique challenge. You feel more, see more, carry more emotional weight than most people around you. You're like someone with exceptionally sensitive hearing trying to navigate a world that seems comfortable with noise levels that overwhelm you. And this is where many sensitive souls get lost. They begin to believe that their gift is actually a curse. They start to see their depth as a disability, their awareness as a burden. They attempt to dim their light, numb their awareness, build walls around their hearts to protect themselves from feeling so much. They learn to apologize for their perceptions, to doubt their intuition, to question their own emotional reality because it's so different from what others seem to experience. They begin the slow, tragic process of abandoning their authentic selves to fit into a world that can't handle their truth. Rogers called this incongruence. When we abandon our authentic selves to gain acceptance, when we sacrifice our truth to maintain relationships, when we learn to perform a version of ourselves that's more palatable to others, but ultimately false to who we really are. But what if your sensitivity isn't something to overcome? What if your ability to see isn't something to suppress? What if the very thing that makes you feel different is actually your greatest strength? Listen carefully to what Rogers understood about people like you. The good life is a process, not a state of being. It is a direction, not a destination. Your sensitivity, your depth, your ability to see what others refuse to notice. This isn't a fixed trait that you're stuck with. It's a capacity that can be developed, honored, and used in service of something larger than yourself. Your ability to see what others refuse to notice isn't a burden you carry. It's a compass pointing toward your purpose. It's a gift that the world desperately needs, even when the world doesn't seem to want it. Think about it. In a culture that celebrates surface-level connection, artificial presentations, and emotional numbness, your capacity for deep seeing is exactly what's missing. You are the one who can hold space for others' authentic experiences. You are the one who can create safety for truth-telling. You are the one who can model what it looks like to live congruently, authentically, courageously. Rogers spent his career proving that healing happens not through analysis, advice, or expert interpretation, but through being truly seen by another human being. When someone feels genuinely witnessed, when they experience what Rogers called being prized for who they really are rather than who they pretend to be, transformation becomes possible. This is your gift. This is your calling. This is the reason you see what others refuse to notice. You don't see because something is wrong with you. You see because something is profoundly right with you. You've developed a capacity that most people have forgotten they even possess. You've cultivated an awareness that our culture actively discourages. You've maintained a connection to authentic emotional reality in a world that profits from keeping people disconnected from themselves. But Rogers also knew this fundamental truth. You cannot give what you do not have. You cannot truly see others if you're hiding from yourself. You cannot offer unconditional positive regard to others if you're withholding it from your own experience. You cannot create space for others' authenticity if you're abandoning your own. This is where the real work begins. This is where your journey transforms from simply being someone who sees to being someone who can use that seeing in service of healing and connection. So let me ask you something that might be uncomfortable but essential. Are you seeing yourself with the same clarity and compassion you offer others? When you notice your own pain, your own fear, your own struggle beneath your composed exterior, do you witness it with the same gentle acceptance you bring to others' hidden experiences? When you observe your own masks and defenses, the ways you protect yourself from being fully seen, do you meet them with the same understanding you extend to others' protective mechanisms? When you catch yourself performing rather than being authentic, do you offer yourself the same compassion you would give to anyone else caught in the exhausting dance of trying to be who they think they should be? Rogers believed that self-acceptance is not self-indulgence. It's not letting yourself off the hook or avoiding responsibility for growth and change. Self-acceptance is the foundation of authentic living. And authentic living is the prerequisite for authentic connecting. Here's what this looks like practically, in the messy reality of daily life. Instead of judging yourself for feeling too much, begin to honor your emotional range as a sophisticated instrument of perception. Your feelings aren't random or excessive. They're information. They're data about what's happening in your environment and your relationships in the world around you. Instead of criticizing yourself for seeing what others miss, recognize this as evidence of your developed consciousness, your emotional intelligence, your capacity for depth that many people have lost touch with. Your perceptions aren't too much. They're accurate readings of subtle realities that others have learned to ignore. When you feel overwhelmed by others' pain, instead of shutting down your sensitivity or building walls around your heart, Learn to create boundaries while keeping your heart open. Rogers called this empathic understanding without losing yourself. It's the art of feeling with others without drowning in their experience, of caring deeply without taking responsibility for their healing. When you notice yourself dimming your light to make others comfortable, pause and ask, what would it look like to honor my authentic self in this moment? Rogers taught that every time we abandon ourselves to gain approval, we move further from the very congruence that makes deep connection possible. This doesn't mean being aggressive or insensitive. It means being real. It means showing up as you are, rather than as you think you should be. It means trusting that your authentic presence is more valuable than any performance you could offer. Rogers had a radical vision that still challenges our culture today. He believed that humans have an innate tendency toward growth, toward healing, toward becoming their most authentic selves. He called this the actualizing tendency, and he saw it as the fundamental drive of all living beings, like a plant naturally growing toward the light. But here's what he also understood. This tendency toward authenticity and growth can only unfold in the presence of certain conditions: unconditional positive regard, empathic understanding, genuine congruence. In other words, people need to be truly seen to become truly themselves. This is where your gift becomes your mission, where your sensitivity transforms from personal burden to universal service. Every time you offer someone the experience of being genuinely witnessed, you create conditions for their growth. Every time you see through their masks without judgment, you give them permission to remove those masks. Every time you hold space for their authentic experience, you help them reconnect with their own actualizing tendency. But it starts with you. It starts with offering yourself the same quality of presence you bring to others. It starts with seeing your sensitivity not as a flaw to fix, but as a capacity to celebrate. It starts with recognizing that in a world hungry for authentic connection, your ability to see and be seen is exactly what's needed. Rogers wrote, "What I am is good enough if I would only be it openly." What if you trusted this truth about yourself? What if you stopped trying to be less sensitive, less aware, less deep, and instead learned to be these things more skillfully, more consciously, more courageously? What if you understood that the world doesn't need you to be smaller, but needs you to be more authentically yourself? What if your sensitivity is not something to overcome, but something to master? What if your ability to see is not something to suppress, but something to develop and offer? Here's what I want you to understand. The world needs people who can see beyond the surface. The world needs people who can witness pain without trying to fix it, who can hold space for truth without judgment, who can model what it looks like to live from an authentic center. The world needs people who refuse to participate in the collective denial, who won't pretend that everything is fine when it's not, who can hold space for the full spectrum of human experience without trying to rush toward premature comfort or false positivity. The world needs you, not a dimmed-down version of you, not a socially acceptable version of you, not a version that's been edited to make others comfortable. The world needs you in your full capacity to see, feel, and be present with what is real. Rogers believed that every person has within them the resources for their own healing and growth. But these resources can only be accessed in relationship with someone who can truly see them, someone who can witness their struggle without judgment, someone who can hold faith in their capacity to find their own way. This is your calling. This is your gift. This is your responsibility. When you honor your ability to see what others refuse to notice, you become a catalyst for healing in a world that desperately needs it. When you stop apologizing for your depth, you give others permission to explore their own. When you embrace your sensitivity as strength, you model a different way of being human. Rogers spent his life proving that the therapeutic relationship, the experience of being truly seen and accepted, is what creates the conditions for transformation. But this isn't limited to therapy rooms. This is available in every interaction, every conversation, every moment when you choose to show up authentically and invite others to do the same. Your presence becomes the invitation. Your authenticity becomes the permission. Your willingness to see and be seen becomes the bridge that others can cross toward their own truth. This is not always easy. Living this way requires tremendous courage. It means being willing to be misunderstood, to be called too much, to stand alone sometimes in your commitment to truth and authenticity. It means being willing to feel deeply in a world that often rewards numbness, to see clearly in a culture that profits from blindness. But Rogers understood something profound. The people who are brave enough to live authentically, who are willing to see and be seen, who refuse to participate in the collective denial and pretense, these people change the world simply by existing. They create ripples of possibility everywhere they go. They give others permission to be real by being real themselves. So I leave you with this truth that Rogers dedicated his life to proving. You are not too sensitive. You are not too much. You are not broken because you see what others miss, because you feel what others avoid, because you refuse to pretend that surface-level connection is enough. You are awake. You are aware. You are exactly what this world needs, even when it doesn't seem to want what you offer. Your ability to see what others refuse to notice isn't a burden to carry. It's a light to shine. It's a gift to offer. It's a way of being that can transform not just your own life, but every life you touch with your authentic presence. Trust your perceptions. They are more accurate than you've been told. Honor your sensitivity. It is a superpower disguised as a vulnerability. Embrace your depth. It is your gift to a world drowning in superficiality. The world is waiting for someone brave enough to see clearly and love anyway. Someone willing to witness the full spectrum of human experience without turning away. Someone who can hold space for truth, for pain, for growth, for the messy, beautiful process of becoming authentic. That someone is you. If this resonated with your truth, share it with someone who needs to hear that their sensitivity is their strength. And remember, in a world of masks and pretense, your authentic presence is a revolutionary act. You are seen, you are valued, you are enough. And your ability to see others is exactly the gift this world has been waiting for.